and the topic is strict and absolute liability principles basically. So let us start with the topic. And first of all, for the basic introduction, I would like to speak upon, as you can see, there are two people in the screen. If one of the person is having a right, other have the duty to respect the right of the person. Then if there is a wrongful act or omission done by one person, the other person who is not taking care of it and who is not making a duty of it to respect that right, or who is doing a wrongful omission or an act, is going to redeem this wrongful act and omission by giving a damages, by providing a damages to the person. So what next we come to all tort consist of fault based liabilities. Fault based, we go next as the no fault liability. So there are two types of no fault liability. First goes as a strict liability and the second is absolute liability. So the strict liability here goes as it was the concept of 18th century. It was the concept of 18th century. And now let us start of the case of Raylands versus Fletcher. So basically this case law of Rayland versus Fletcher was of 1868, in which the Rayland and Fletcher have are the two neighbors, and the Rayland, the plaintiff is having the mines on his field, and the Fletcher, the defendant, is having the meals. So the Fletcher ordered the constructors and engineers to make a reservoir in his field. So at the time of the construction, the engineers and the constructor have seen the mine shafts at his land, but they have ignored this. So when the reservoir was made and when the water was filled in it, so all the water was flown down by the mine shafts to the place of the plaintiff over here. So here the Fletcher was liable. The Fletcher, the House of Lords have said that the Fletcher, the defendant, is liable for the act of damages occurred in the land of the Rayland. So basically this was the first time over where the strict liability, the concept of strict liability, have evolved. So now we just grab some points which are the basic concept of the strict liability, which goes as first of all, it is the dangerous things involved. As in the case of the Raylands versus Fletcher, you have seen that the reservoir was made, which is unnatural, which is a thing of unnatural thing, in which the defendant have introduced the unnatural things in his own property. First of all, the first basic point goes as here the dangerous things, then the escape. As in this case, what happened that the water from the mine shafts have gone in the place of the plaintiff and caused the damage here. So they have gone out of the boundaries and the parameters they should be, but they haven't. Then the third point over here goes as the prima facie liability. So as you can see that due to the mistake and due to the mistake of the engineers and constructor over here in the case of the Fletcher, the plaintiff have been given damages. So this is the prima facie liability of the Fletcher and the defendant in the case. Then we goes as we have learned about the basic principle, the basic concepts of the strict liability. So where there is a way, there are always a loophole, we say that. So there are the exceptions for the strict liability for the defendant, and here we go. As the first is the plaintiff's fault, where the plaintiff is held liable for his own fault done in the case. So there's a case law of Ponting versus Noakes, which is the case of 1849, in which both the plaintiff and the defendant were neighbor again, and which you can see that uh, this left side, the house, the left side, the defendant, Ponting was the defendant. And in this case, what happened that the left side house was having the dangerous bushes, and the right side house was having a horse. You can see there, and the horse moved down and goes uh, out of his goes to the place of the plaintiff over here and ate that dangerous bushes which were hazardous for his health, and he died. So the thing over here, the plaintiff's fault was given as the plaintiff was himself liable as his horse goes out of the haven't escaped. The thing is, the dangerous bushes in the field of this house, the dangerous bushes do not got out of his parameter of the area, and the horse itself goes to his place and eats it, and it's done. As we move to the next case, which is act of the god, in which nobody have the control, it's all the act of a god. We say that there was a case law which is Nicholas versus Marshland, in which the case is again there were the neighbors, and one was having the artificial lake, and one and due to the heavy rainfall one day, which is an act of a god, we say that the unnatural thing, the heavy rainfall occurred, and due to which the water of the artificial lake goes to the place of the neighborhood where the all the bridges and walls of the neighbor got broken and got harmed, in which case that when the plaintiff said that I was getting affected and I want damages, so the thing over here is the defendant himself said that the artificial lake was there which was unnatural to be made, but the damage have been occurred due to the act of a god. Next we move upon the voluntary non-fit injuria and mutual benefits. In the case when when there are two people or more than two people, suppose, but when there is a mutual benefit of the both of the person, and the person knows that there is harm or there is danger, but he gives his own what we say that when he gives his own uh, permission for that act, which he knows that there is a danger, but he gives it. So if the danger occurs, the person is not liable for it. So we can just take an example of a doctor. Whensoever the doctor is going to be taking such serious operation, so he gives a form for the person that you have this and this at so and so terms and condition. If you are okay with it, so you do the sign, and if the operation do not succeed, the doctor will not be held liable for it. So here when the person gives his own consult after knowing the main thing, after knowing the danger in it. Then the fourth thing, we say that the act of a stranger. If the danger or if the harm or the damage, we say, is done with another person, for suppose the act of a stranger here, the stranger who is unknown to the person, and if the damage have occurred, then the defendant is not liable because it is completely the act of a stranger over here. Then we say that the statutory authorities, if the damage is done due to the statutory authorities, as if we say that if a person is living near to the train lines, and he says that there are completely nuisance creating, I'm not getting a piece over here in my place. So when he will just take the case, when he will just file a complaint over here, then the thing which will be risen is there was a statutory authority. The railways are the statutory authority which have the permission and which do not want to be which are have got the power, so that they get this exception over here. As the MC Mehta versus Union of India, 1987, in which there was a company named Union Carbide, which manufactures pesticides and such products. So the thing is, this company Union Carbide, basically the thing is, when we talk about on the 2nd December 1984, on the 2nd December 1984, midterm night 40 tons, which is 36,000 kgs of methyl isocyanide have been released from the mill, from the factory, manufactured factory, and the gas was so much, and the gas was so harmful that it gas was so harmful that it have been, there was approx 3,000 people died and countless people were injured in this case. And during the investigation, it was known that all the safety measures, all the safety system in the manufacturing company was not functional. Then we talk about this case. This whole case was known as the Bhopal gas tragedy, we say. Then moving further, in this case, first time the principle of absolute liability have involved is, first there must be an enterprise, then there must be a hazardous activity going in the enterprise itself, then the thing is, escape is not necessary. If there is a danger inside the enterprise itself, then there will be no exception for, say, the escape is not necessary, that the damages incurred in the parameters of the particular industry, we say, then there is no exception provided for the defendant over here, and the quantum of damages is directly proportional to the size of the enterprise, we say. Then we talk about the strict liability is a concept of 18th century, we have heard before. And as the time went, the centuries all over the world started adopting the absolute liability principle. Then we move further with the strict liability and absolute liability. The main difference and the key points in which you must remember are the strict liability. When we talk about the strict liability, a person is always involved. When we talk about the strict liability, the person is involved and the person is going to be pay the damages. And in the case of the absolute liability, there's no person, there's directly the whole sole enterprise over here. And then the strict liability goes as the escape is necessary. The escape must be necessary. The dangerous thing must escape from the parameter of its boundaries. Then we say that the escape is not necessary in the case of absolute liability over here. The thing is, there are exceptions provided in the strict liability for the defendant to win his case, but there are no exceptions in the case of the absolute liability over here. I end up my video over here, and that's it for the strict liability and absolute liability. Hope you all liked it, and thank you very much.